After losing my memory, I stopped keeping Eric in check. We stayed in our own lanes and left each other alone. He poured resources into Zoe, poured connections into her, and paved her a bright, open road to stardom. Everyone else came running to tell me, "You'd better stop pretending to have amnesia. If you keep this up, your place as Mrs. Eric is going to be taken by someone else." I only smiled, but inwardly I muttered, "Don't sabotage me, okay? I finally have this kind of life where I don't have to work and still get to spend money." Later, he got into a car accident back home, while I went abroad to chase celebrities. His brother called and told me to come back, and I brushed him off. Oh no. Is he okay? I'm so worried I could die. I'm heading back right away. But by the time he had already been discharged from the hospital, I still hadn't gone back. With an apologetic look on my face, I spouted nonsense. As soon as I landed, my wallet got stolen. I was left with only my phone. "I'm really so sorry I didn't make it back in time." But he looked at me, walked over, took my hand, his eyes reddening. "Can we stop fighting, okay?" Chapter 01. Zoe starred in an S+ costume drama and shot straight to the top of the trending charts. Underneath, it was full of her fans and paid posters listing all the hardships she had endured over the years. They said she had finally made it. At that moment, I was sitting in a VIP hospital room, reaching up to touch my head. Oh my God, dear heavens. Looking at the room around me, I couldn't stop the corners of my mouth from lifting. My eyes practically gleamed. I just took a nap. So how the hell did I wake up as a rich lady? At that moment, a nurse walked in. I quickly asked her, pointing at the bandage on my head, Miss, when can I be discharged?" She said softly, "We'll probably still need to observe you for another 2 or 3 days. If there are no other adverse reactions, then you can leave." I waved a hand grandly. "All right then, I can be discharged right now. I'm fine." After saying that, I blinked my big eyes at her. "Can I?" She froze for a second, then said, "I'll go get the doctor to come examine you. If there's nothing wrong, then you can be discharged." Okay. After the nurse left, I stiffly craned my neck to grab my phone. Not looking was one thing, but once I looked, I nearly jumped out of my skin. Oh my God, WeChat 99+. I'm a little nearsighted, so I brought it closer. All I could see in the pinned chat was the note, "Husband." There was one message, "If you keep this up, we're getting divorced." Divorced? The very next second, I called my mom. The moment she picked up, I asked, "Did you suddenly get rich?" "You dead girl. Hurry up and tell Eric to help your brother." Before she could finish, I hung up immediately. Then I called my dad. Same question, same answer. At 3:33 p.m. I confirmed that I had not suddenly become rich. The one with money was this husband who said he wanted to divorce me. I immediately opened my bank account, and after seeing all those zeros at the end, I went back to the chat history with husband. I almost rolled my eyes back and passed out. Seriously, had my brain gotten slammed in a door before I woke up? I had actually been crying and making a scene, trying to get this cheating husband to come back to the family. Oh my God. I pressed my orchid fingers to my temples. Unbelievable. Since when did I become this ridiculous? I walked into the bathroom, looked at my haggard face, pointed at the mirror, and said, "Selena, since when did you become this ridiculous? You actually wanted love? Did your brain get slammed in a door?" After the doctor approved my discharge, I rushed straight to the mall to completely reinvent myself. In one go, I bought 10 big gold bangles, 5 on each arm. When the salesgirl saw how extravagant I was, she smiled so hard her eyes disappeared, pouring every sweet word she had at me. After leaving the mall, my whole body radiated the scent of money and luxury. Wonderful, wonderful. Next stop, a high-end club. Carrying a huge box of cash, I lifted one of the male model's chins with money and asked, "Do you like me?" His eyes lit up like laser beams, and he immediately said in a gentle voice, "The person I like most is you. Big sis, you're beautiful, and your figure is amazing. Who wouldn't like you? If someone doesn't like you, then they must be blind." I asked another one, "Do you love me?" He immediately dropped at my feet. Big sis is the person I love and care about the most. Second only to my mom. Holding a huge wad of cash, I smiled and told them to fan me. Didn't love come just like that? When you've got money, what kind of love can't you buy? These male models had mouths sweet enough to say any kind of nonsense. I was so happy I couldn't tell east from west. Chapter 02. Relying on my blurry memories. When I returned to the magnificent villa in front of me, I could feel my legs going weak and my heart trembling. What a huge fountain. Wow. There's even a corridor. Wow. And a garden. Woohoo. And there's even a swimming pool. The smile on my lips kept widening. This is my house. When I opened the villa's front doors, the living room was a little dark. I turned on my flashlight and fumbled around to switch on the lights. But before I could turn them on, I heard a scream. Ah! Mother of God. My poor little heart. Clutching my chest, so startled my legs nearly gave out. I leaned against the wall and looked toward the source of the sound. The next second, the lights came on. I instinctively narrowed my eyes. When I opened them, all I saw was a man with a woman hiding in his arms. They were a little far away, so I couldn't see clearly and could only squint at them. The man's cold, hard voice carried a trace of impatience. So, what are you trying to pull this time? Jump off a building? Slit your wrists? My brain hadn't even caught up yet when the woman beside him looked like she was afraid of me. Her big watery eyes were slightly moist. I raised a hand. Sorry for ruining your good time. It's dark as hell in here. I didn't see a thing. I'll head upstairs first. Please. Carry on. Carry on. After saying that, I ran upstairs as fast as if my feet had been greased. Following my vague memory, I opened one of the rooms and went in. Once again, I sighed in admiration. What a huge room. After I finished showering and came out, there was one more person in the room. It was the man from downstairs. I could guess he was probably the husband from my contacts, Eric. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, and he leaned against the wall, staring at me coldly. What are you trying to pull this time? Before I could speak, I heard him curl his lips into a sneer. Amnesia? I knew that even if I handed him the doctor's diagnosis report, he still wouldn't believe me, so I quickly waved my hands. No, I'm fine. Really, totally fine. As soon as the words fell, the room sank into silence. I had no feelings for him, and no memories of him either. To me right now, he was just a man standing in front of me, hesitating. I asked, was there something else? If not, then please leave. I didn't believe for a second that a cheating man would stay here. He lazily lifted his eyelids to look at me. Weren't you the one who kept making a scene to get me to come back? Heh. Well, if you've got things to do, you can leave. I gave a dry laugh or two. He shot me a cold glance, then went into the bathroom. I sat on the bed and scrolled through my phone for a while, getting halfway through the WeChat messages. So Zoe was Eric's childhood sweetheart. But when they were in college, Zoe's family went bankrupt. She also didn't get into Eric's university, and the feelings they had in their youth were locked away in their hearts. When they met again, Zoe was just a nameless extra in the entertainment industry, while Eric had already become the president of a conglomerate. The direction of the story was practically like a novel. He felt sorry for her past and wanted to pave a smooth, shining path to stardom for her. The only problem was that I barged in like an unwanted spoiler. Back then, I had stepped forward and accused Zoe of being the other woman. Zoe's rivals seized the chance to pour oil on the fire, and she was cursed so viciously she nearly quit the industry. I searched it up, and in the end, it all concluded with me posting a public apology. The general meaning was that I had misunderstood them, and Zoe had not destroyed our relationship. What a load of crap. How touching. What a loyal defense. I yawned and decided to sleep before he came out. If I was asleep, then it wouldn't be awkward. Chapter 03. When I woke up in the morning, I was the only one left in the room. After breakfast, I casually asked one of the house staff, Monica, Auntie, what do I usually do around this time of day? Huh? Monica paused what she was doing. After thinking for a long while, she carefully said, Ma'am, at this time you usually go to the company to see sir. To work? No. Then I got it. For the next few weeks, Eric never came back. Meanwhile, I made a few rich housewife friends. They took me to all those upscale clubs and out for tea and fancy desserts. It wasn't easy, but you finally came to your senses. The woman speaking was named Elena. Her name sounded a lot like mine. She was the very definition of a stunning beauty. In my heart, I kept shaking my head. Men, honestly, the flowers at home are so fragrant, so beautiful, and yet they still can't kick the habit of wanting to go outside and eat shit. She slowly exhaled a puff of smoke. Sitting beside her was a male celebrity, and he reached over to hand her the ashtray. The male model beside me was also very quick to read the room. He picked up a strawberry and held it to my lips, murmuring softly, "Big sis, have a strawberry." Then he leaned close to my ear and asked, "Big sis, want to play a game?" That got my attention, so I asked him, "What game?" The male model had a soft, almost androgynous face, and when he smiled, it was incredibly seductive. I stared at him for a moment, a little dazed. He leaned in close to whisper in my ear, but before he could say more than a few words, the door outside was kicked open with a violent bang. A man in a black suit stormed in, burning with rage, and punched the male celebrity in the face. I gasped and covered my mouth in shock, while the other rich wives beside me, along with Elena, looked far calmer. The male celebrity didn't dare hit back. In the end, Elena looked at her nails and spoke in a casual tone. "Had enough? If you're done, then get out. Don't scare my girls." Inside the dim private room, the yellowish light from outside fell across the man's face, and you could still see that he looked rather pale. He took off his suit jacket and draped it over Elena's shoulders, then grabbed her hand. "Come home with me." After Elena left, I asked the remaining rich wives, "What was that about?" The rich wives laughed and said just one sentence: "The magistrate is allowed to set fires, but the common people aren't allowed to light lamps." Coming out of the private room, I tilted my head and looked at the male model as I asked, "Why did you come here?" He smiled, and his answer was brief. "I need money." I asked, "Are you clean?" He froze for a moment, as if he had only just realized what I meant, then nodded. "Yeah." I smiled. "All right, I'll give you 100,000 a month. Keep me company." At that, his lips moved slightly before he said, "Thank you. What's your name?" "Your real name." "Jonathan." Chapter 04. When Eric and Zoe's names shot onto the trending charts, Jonathan and I were already up at 4 in the morning, all just to go chase a sunrise. There's a road in North City with the sea on 3 sides. He rode an electric scooter, and I sat beside him. There were quite a few other people around us doing the same thing, heading out to catch the sunrise. The horizon was already covered in magnificent rosy clouds, and coconut trees lined both sides of East Ring Road while the breeze blew gently. At 5 o'clock, a whole crowd stood on the beach for nearly 20 minutes. The salted egg yolk sun slowly rose above the horizon, that stretch of light dazzling but not harsh. After returning to the villa, I fell asleep the moment I touched the bed. The next time I opened my eyes, I was woken by my phone going crazy with non-stop messages and calls. Irritated, I grabbed at my hair on the bed and cursed. "Damn it. Aw, so annoying. So annoying. Aw." I clutched the pillow and lost my mind in frustration. When I opened my phone, both familiar and unfamiliar people were messaging me to ask whether Eric and I had gotten divorced. Most of them were saying the same thing to me: "You'd better stop pretending to have amnesia. If you keep this up, your place as Mrs. Eric is going to be taken by someone else." But in my heart I was muttering, "Don't sabotage me, okay? It's not easy to have this kind of life where I don't have to work and still get to spend money." I scratched my head, took a deep breath, and opened Weibo. Well, the #1 trending topic was #EricZoe hashtag. Turns out that one of their high school classmates had posted a video on short-form media. Recently, a whole series had gone viral called A 17-Year-Old Girl's Secret Crush. After the transition, there was a photo of that person in a classroom. In the background of the photo, a few students in school uniforms had accidentally been caught in the frame. I lowered my eyes and looked at the image, which had been enlarged by netizens and cleaned up until it was much clearer. You could now see Zoe's face much more clearly. The girl was looking up at the boy standing in front of her, smiling with bright, sparkling eyes. The boy leaned casually against the blackboard at the back of the classroom. his posture lazy, his head slightly lowered. The corners of his mouth curved into a smile. The comments below were climbing higher and higher. Floor after floor. Is this high school romance mode? Kind of interesting. So all those coincidences weren't coincidences after all. Wan really did have Eric escorting her all the way through the entertainment industry. The person above. Say more. This is so sweet. But isn't Eric married? Then what does this make them? Zoe isn't the other woman? Among the endless crowd shipping this reunited couple fantasy, there was, at least, one rare discordant voice. But people only want to hear what they want to hear, and see what they want to see. The moment a voice appears that doesn't fit their fairy tale expectations, they rebuild their whole ship narrative with all kinds of "I heard" and "from what I know. That woman isn't even as pretty as Zoe, and I heard she only managed to marry Eric because she played some tricks. Otherwise, how could someone like her ever marry into a family as rich as Eric's? I agree with the person above. The fact that Wan and Eric met again just proves that even fate couldn't stand to see them miss each other. The comments flew back and forth, but my mind was completely blank. I couldn't even remember how Eric and I met, let alone how I ended up marrying him. I scratched my head. Why would a rich heir from a wealthy family marry me? Didn't his parents object? I couldn't come up with the answer, so I simply stopped thinking about it. Chapter 05. That evening, I was outside the University of Science and Technology, waiting for Jonathan so we could go get dinner. He had taken a year off because of family issues, and only a few days ago had returned to school. He was wearing a blue short-sleeved shirt with a white t-shirt underneath. A sharp pain stabbed through my head, and a scene flickered vaguely before my eyes. Big sis, have you been waiting long? I shook my head gently. Not really. Is there anything good to eat around your campus? Do you want barbecue? Big sis? A new barbecue place just opened. I heard it's pretty good. Sure. The University of Science and Technology was close to North City University, and when we passed North City University, I slowly stopped walking and stared at the familiar gates. Jonathan asked softly, "What's wrong, big sis?" I used to study here. We were just about to leave when an elderly voice called out from behind us. Selena? I turned at the sound. A little old man pushing a bicycle came over with a cheerful grin. The last time you two came back to campus for an event was already years ago. So what? Did you come specially to visit this old man today? I pressed my lips together. Most people thought the whole amnesia thing sounded ridiculous if I said it out loud. So I smiled and answered, "Yes, Professor. I came to see you today. Have you been well lately?" The professor smiled and waved his hand. Good. I know Eric is busy with work. Aw, and this is? He pointed at Jonathan. I said, "A friend of mine. He studies over at the University of Science and Technology next door." Hello, Professor. Jonathan lowered his head slightly. Professor. Hello. Aw. At that, the professor nodded, looking at me. His eyes were full of kind amusement. And he said, "Time really does fly. Back then you were both only freshmen. That boy ran all over lynching in the middle of the night just to collect a full set of doll figurines for you. And the next day he still had a competition. Youth really is wonderful. And now, in the blink of an eye, you've already been married for 5 years." Hearing that, the smile at the corner of my mouth froze. I was 28 this year. The professor kept talking. Back then, I wanted him to continue on to a master's and doctorate with me. He joined my research institute in his freshman year. A rare genius. Really. But at the time, his parents opposed it. He told me he had to earn a future for the two of you. In an instant, my heart began to ache in waves, and a scene suddenly surfaced in my mind. A young man in a blue shirt weaving through streets and alleys. And then, in my ears, a bright, clear male voice rang out again. "Well now, classmate. That's pretty stylish. Tanning. Huh? I think I'm too pale too. So I came out to get some sun as well. Oh, look at me, talking so much I lost track of time. I have to rush to class. Come visit this old man sometime when you're free." I smiled. "We definitely will. Please take care of your health." After the professor left, Jonathan noticed that I looked off and asked carefully, "Big sis, what's wrong? You don't look too well." "It's nothing. I just remembered some things." Chapter 06. The nights in North City were dazzling, golden light casting a glow over the high-rises with their Western-style architecture. Elena had drunk too much, so I came to pick her up. A waiter led me to a private room. She was sitting on the floor, her head resting on the table, her slightly curled hair spilling loose. I had no idea how she had ended up drinking herself into this state. Hearing movement, she lifted her head groggily, her voice blurred. Is that Selena? Yeah, come on. I'm taking you home. Home? She blinked, staring at me in confusion for a long while. Then she finally curled her lips into a smile. That's right, my home. A home that belongs only to me. As she smiled, she suddenly seemed to remember something. She opened her phone and handed it to me. On the lit-up screen was an email from a foreign university. An admission offer. I'm going abroad to study. I stared at her in surprise, my mouth falling open. Congratulations, girl. When the time comes, I'll come visit you there. Sure, don't forget to come see me. I'll show you around my school. But she didn't look happy, looking at the empty bottles scattered around. I said, wasn't this the school you always liked? Why do you say that? I just think you don't look very happy. At that, she froze, then tilted her head back and laughed. No, it just feels a little surreal. I looked at her in confusion, and she began to speak softly about some things. He and I started dating in high school. We were childhood sweethearts, grew up together, and just like we always imagined, we got married right after graduating from college. But then came the 7-year itch. In the second year of our marriage, he cheated. Do you know, if that woman had gotten her nose done a little higher, she would have looked exactly like me. Back then, I thought it was completely absurd. She covered her face, and tears slipped through her fingers. He said we'd been together too long, that he couldn't feel that first flutter of young love anymore. He said nothing had happened between them, but my email and my phone were flooded with photos that woman sent me of them in bed. I don't understand how something that used to be so sincere could change. Back then, his whole heart, his whole world, was full of me, but then he just fell in love with someone else. I fought for a divorce at the time. I'd rather shatter than compromise. He was filthy already, so why would I still want him? But I couldn't leave. I couldn't. My dad told me the interests of our two companies were too deeply tied together now. I couldn't get divorced. So all I could do was endure it, endure him saying he loved me while sleeping with another woman. Grinding her teeth, she swept the glass bottle off the table. It crashed to the floor and shattered. Just like a marriage dressed up to look whole. No matter how you tried to piece it back together, it would never be what it was before. He wouldn't agree to divorce either. He just trapped me inside this marriage that had already rotted through. I felt like I was going insane back then. Selena, I had become someone I didn't even recognize. She rested her face against my shoulder and sobbed softly, her voice carrying a note of release. Now, I can finally leave. I really regret it. I regret being with him so much. I wiped away the tears that had slipped out of my own eyes before I even realized it. Gently patting her back. In the private room, the song Under Mount Fuji played on repeat. Everyone only has those two hands. Even with an embrace, you still can't truly possess someone. If you want to have something, you must first learn how to accept losing it. We once wandered along snowy roads. So why do tears fall for something beautiful? Who can claim Mount Fuji as their own just because of love? Chapter 07. The car stopped in front of a villa. Jonathan got out and gently lifted Elena into his arms. I took her index finger and pressed it against the fingerprint scanner. After laying her on the bed, I said to Jonathan, "You should head back first. I'll stay here and take care of her. Take the car with you for now. I'll come pick it up in a few days." "Okay, then I'll go first. Big sis." He turned and had only taken one step when he slightly tilted his head and said to me, "Big sis. Was the person the professor talked about today your husband?" My eyelashes lowered. "I guess so." He nodded lightly and walked out. In the middle of the night, I sat on the balcony, letting the wind blow over me, rubbing my temples. I didn't retain many memories. Back then, I moved back and forth between two families. One was my mother's remarried family, and the other was my father's remarried family. Originally there had still been a house, but neither of them wanted the other to get the better end of the deal, so they sold it and split the money. Neither household had a room for me, so I could only sleep in the living room. Back then, I often fantasized that I had been adopted, and that one day my biological parents would find me and take me away, and then I would have a room of my own. I also fantasized about being a rich woman with a huge villa, with a room that was big, and a bed that was big and soft. Just as I was sinking into my thoughts, my phone rang. It was Eric. I wrapped the blanket tighter around myself and thought of Elena's heartbroken sobbing in the private room earlier. Maybe she really had loved him once. Maybe she had loved him too much, and that was why, when she realized he no longer loved her, it became even harder to bear. The phone rang, then stopped, then rang again. It was as if he wouldn't give up until I answered. After I lost my memory, everyone had been shocked by how much I had changed. Elena said that if this had been the old me, the moment Eric dared give Zoe one of the film projects his company had invested in, I would have stormed over and smashed up his office, then gone however far it took to rip Zoe apart with my own hands. But now, to me, Eric was just a stranger. I didn't have any feelings for him, aside from the occasional flashes of images in my head. I bit my finger. Eric was so rich that after the divorce, I should still get quite a lot of money, right? I'd probably still be able to live as a rich lady. I just wouldn't be able to give Jonathan $100,000 a month. The phone kept vibrating. I reached out and answered. The moment the call connected, Eric's angry voice came through the receiver. Where are you? Why did it take you so long to answer? Look what time it is already. It's 2 in the morning. Where the hell are you? I propped up my head with one hand. I went traveling. What do you need? There was silence for a moment, and all I could hear was breathing. Are you alone? With a friend. Is there anything else? Which friend? How come I? Too wordy. Annoyed. I hung up. The night was so dark. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Better to break jade than settle for broken tile. Maybe that was what Selena had been thinking back then too. Chapter 08. Later, on the first day of filming for Zoe's costume drama, Eric showed up on set. The two of them looked terribly mismatched. Only this time, it didn't make the trending charts, and I, in the corner of a certain room, found the dolls the professor had mentioned. I took out my phone and looked them up. Back then, the full set of these dolls had once been scalped to outrageously high prices, but as the years passed, these dolls had already lost their old colors, turning yellow with age. Inside this locked box were also many gifts and photographs. Their owner had forgotten them in some corner of time, where they gathered dust and yellowed with the years. The Eric in the photos looked far younger and greener than he did now. Since I came back, I had only seen him once, and I had never seen him smile. But the Eric in these photos was smiling in every single one. And in every single one, his gaze was on me. There was also a book inside, and a postcard slipped out of it. It was actually a postcard from the novel with the same title as the one Zoe was starring in. A long sentence was written on the back. One wrong move, and the whole game is lost. But I thought about it for a long time and still could not figure out which step had gone wrong. That day, I stood at a crossroads as heavy snow fell from the sky, making the road ahead hard to see. This winter was too cold. It made me feel like I might not live to see next spring. The female lead in the screen adaptation of Plot was Zoe. Back then, he told me that once he bought the rights, I would have absolute say over the adaptation, and I believed him. When they delayed casting and the project made no progress, he told me the company had a major project recently, and once the funds came back around, filming would begin. I believed that too. In the end, he lied to me. Just like when my parents sold the house and told me that both of their homes were my home. They said I was crazy. I think maybe I really was sick. I actually wanted to drag the two of them down with me and die together. Anyone could play the female lead in Plot. Anyone except Zoe. Through these words, I felt as though I could see that Selena, drowning in despair through every day and night. I took a deep breath and looked coldly at the dolls lying on the carpet. I took the book and the postcard, and told Monica to throw away all the trash inside. Just then, Elena called. Have you packed your luggage? I looked at the suitcase beside me. A singer Elena had loved for many years was holding a concert abroad. But what made it interesting was that this concert was only happening 5 years after the ticket sale. And back then, there had been a discount for buying 2 tickets together. So many people had bought them for their friends or partners. 5 years later, Was the person who had once promised to go to a concert with you still by your side? At the time, that singer had posted exactly that sentence, and as long as the 2 tickets were verified as genuine, you could get in. I finished editing the text, then pulled my suitcase and left that villa behind. My feelings were complicated, but I could not betray the helpless, abandoned Selena I had once been. After the plane took off, the text I had scheduled was automatically posted online. Hello, everyone. I'm Selena, and also the author of Plot. If this work truly must be played by a third party who destroyed someone else's family, then I am willing to pay the penalty for breach of contract myself. Chapter 09. Eric and I got together in our freshman year of college. You all say I used tricks to marry him, so I'd also like to ask Eric exactly what tricks I used to marry you. Because I'm very curious too. In this relationship, you all forced me into becoming a madwoman, simply because no one believes what a madwoman says. Those internet users who kept fanning the flames, just because they were obsessed with shipping a couple, were willing to make up any lie, any filthy accusation, and dump it all on me. I posted 4 pictures. The first picture was our marriage certificate. Back then, we had finally gained his parents' approval, because the company he founded for me had gone public. That was what he told his professor back then, that he wanted to earn a future for us. The second picture was the hit doll collection from those years. At the time, he had gone to lynching for a competition. He ran through streets and alleys all over the city for me. And in the end, he managed to buy the full collection. The third picture was the photo we used when we made our relationship public on Moments. We were wearing matching rings on our hands, ones he had personally designed, engraved with the initials of our names. Why was the fourth picture just black? Because even white can be twisted into black. Eric always told me that he and Zoe had grown up together, that he pitied her and wanted to help her. But over the years, you promoted her, gave her resources, gave her connections. That is a fact everyone could see. And online, you never once responded to the rumors about the two of you, letting those netizens aim all their hostility at me. You made them believe that I was the one who stole you away, that I was the one who destroyed your so-called love. Every single time, you told me you and she were just friends. Was that really just friendship? Is that how friendship works? Back then, I also posted long public statements online accusing you, and you swore to me that you really were just friends, that I was overthinking things, that Zoe's career had only just begun, and that if I ruined a person like that, could I really live with myself? At the time, I was a complete fool in love, and I truly believed the two of you had nothing going on. So I posted that apology statement. Now that things have come to this point, this failed marriage is not my fault. It is the fault of both of you. It was the two of you who ruined my longing for marriage and destroyed my hopes for the future. And now, Eric, I am formally informing you, we are getting divorced. Chapter 10. The moment that statement was posted, it dropped a bombshell across the internet. At the time, Zoe had just finished filming. She was still happily interacting with her fans. One fan pointed teasingly toward the trailer and joked to Zoe, "Sis, don't tell me you're hiding your man in there. Look how rosy your face is." Right in front of all the cameras. Zoe didn't deny it. Instead, she covered her mouth and smiled shyly. Then suddenly, a startled voice came from the crowd. "Sis, is what Selena said true?" The moment those words fell, the previously harmonious scene went dead quiet, and everyone immediately pulled out their phones. Zoe's face instantly turned ugly. Forgetting all about her image, she snatched up a phone to look. A moment later, the scene erupted into chaos. Everyone was asking Zoe what exactly her relationship with Eric was, whether she had destroyed someone else's marriage. No one could accept that their idol might be a homewrecker, a morally rotten third party. Zoe's face turned deathly pale, and she didn't dare say a single word. Earlier, to make herself look close to her fans, she had removed the guardrails. Now the fans surrounded her, insisting that she give them an explanation. Zoe panicked so badly she couldn't say a word, and didn't dare to, because if she said the wrong thing now, then later, when her PR team tried to clean things up, her own words could box them into a corner and limit what kind of strategy they could use. So she could only grit her teeth and say absolutely nothing. Eric only found out about all of this because his parents and the shareholders called him. At that moment, He had just arrived outside the villa. After seeing the long post, he ran upstairs in a panic, but Selena was nowhere to be seen. He hurriedly took out his phone and called Selena, but the call didn't go through. The villa was terrifyingly quiet. The ringtone from his phone never stopped from beginning to end. He sat on the bed and lifted his head, wanting to look at their wedding photo, only to find that there was nothing there anymore. Selena wanted to divorce him. Eric lowered his head and looked at the long statement she had posted, then slumped forward in defeat. It wasn't that he didn't love Selena. How could he possibly not love Selena? He closed his eyes, and what surfaced in his mind was her smile appearing less and less often. Those once bright, crescent-shaped smiling eyes no longer there. It also seemed like he hadn't seen her in a very long time. She also hadn't come to see him for a very long time, nor had she messaged him. When he realized it, he had wanted to come back and find her, wanted to message her. But once a person gets too used to being proud, they can never lower their head again. He thought she was just like before, throwing another tantrum at him. Later, he waited and waited, but she really never came back. He sat there until dawn, then picked up his coat and walked out. He had really been wrong about this. Wrong beyond belief. The company's stock had started falling since the day before, crashing all the way to the limit down. All the shareholders were blaming Eric for not answering his phone last night and missing the best time to make a clarification. They said there was still time to save things, and told him to release a clarification statement. But Eric released an apology instead. The issue had already exploded too far. Even after taking the trending topic down and blocking the keywords, there was still no stopping it. Chapter 11. After Elena and I finished the concert, we went traveling in a few other countries. While we were watching those three-wheeled mini bikes tearing wildly through the streets overseas, a call came in from back home. It was his brother. He called to say Eric had been in a car accident, that it was pretty serious, and asked whether I could come back to see him. Elena and I exchanged a look and both found it a little funny. This whole thing still had traction online even now. I didn't believe they didn't know that, so I gave him a vague answer. Oh no. Is he okay? I'm worried sick. I'll head back right away. Then I hung up immediately and went right back to sightseeing. By the time I actually returned to the country, it was already several months later, because Elena was about to leave to study abroad too. I came back to the villa to pack my things. While I was changing shoes in the entryway, Eric walked downstairs. After losing my memory, I hadn't seen him many times. I only knew that he had gotten thinner. Even though things between us had turned ugly, on the surface, I was still his wife. With an apologetic look on my face, I spouted nonsense. As soon as I landed, my wallet got stolen. I only had my phone left. I'm really sorry I didn't make it back in time. He looked at me, walked over, took my hand, his eyes reddening. Can we stop fighting, okay? I smiled and pulled my hand back. I'm not fighting with you. The divorce is real. So, are you planning on an uncontested divorce? Or should I take you to court and make this a lawsuit? Your company's stock has probably dropped as far as it can by now, right? Selena. He shut his eyes in despair, and tears slid from the corners. I truly don't know how things turned into this. At the beginning, I really did just want to help her. Back then, at a dinner party, when I passed by a private room, she was being egged on to dance in public. We grew up together. I'd seen how bright she used to be. At the time, I only wanted to give her a few resources. But later, I don't know why things turned into this. Selena, I have never done anything to betray you. I looked at him coldly. Eric, emotional cheating is still cheating. It's no different from physical cheating. Do you know why I got into that car accident back then? Looking at the confusion and despair in his eyes, I smiled. You didn't believe I'd had an accident. You didn't believe I had really lost my memory. You just thought it was one more trick to keep you from leaving. Back then, someone told me you were going to let Zoe star in plot. Eric, I let out a soft sigh. Why did it have to be her? Were you really that eager to disgust me? I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I lost my mind for a moment. At the time, she said that if she could play the female lead in that drama, it might help her compete for Best Actress next time. At the time, I thought that way she'd become famous. That way I wouldn't have let down the bond we had as children. That way maybe we also wouldn't have to fight over her every single time. Eric's features were delicate, but different from Jonathan's softness. His eyes were amber, which made him seem gentler. This is where it ends for us. You need to remember that from beginning to end. You were the one who wronged me. You were the one who betrayed me. Eric. No, I don't want a divorce. Selena. He gritted his teeth and held me tightly. Give me one more chance, okay? I really was wrong. I really was. The next time we meet, I hope I'll see the divorce papers. I don't want this to end up in court. Our ending is already ugly enough. Eric. I pushed him away, took my suitcase, and went upstairs. Chapter 12. Zoe was almost blacklisted. She sent me messages. She asked me whether I really had to force her this far, whether I was trying to drive her to death. Later, she started cursing me out directly. I don't know how she got my contact, but I deleted her. But the Selena from before had already been driven to death by them. Eric was removed from his position as president. In the divorce agreement, he gave me almost his entire fortune. Selena, I'm really sorry. He sat there, pale-faced. And in that instant he seemed to have aged many years. At last, I had achieved my dream of becoming an ultra-rich woman. I sold the villa he gave me. Winters in North City were too cold. I wanted to return to my hometown in the South. Before leaving, I went to North City University and walked onto the campus. While I was abroad, I had already remembered everything. I walked across the enormous sports field. Back then, neither of my parents had been willing to give me living expenses. My course load was packed, and I barely had any time to take part-time jobs. That day, after PE class ended, everyone had already left. I stood under the blazing sun, thinking that maybe I should just die right there. After all, my life didn't seem to hold any hope at all. Then suddenly, an umbrella appeared over my head, and at the same time I heard a bright male voice. Well now, classmate. That's pretty stylish. Tanning. Huh? I think I'm too pale too. So I came out to get some sun as well. While I still had consciousness, I squinted my eyes and struggled to see the person who could say something like that. The boy had dyed blonde hair, and his features were so delicate he almost looked like a girl. He wasn't holding an umbrella for himself. I don't know whether I was so hungry that my eyes were sparkling, or whether the sunlight that day had simply been too bright. But somehow, it made me later want to grow old with him for real. The day I left North City, the first snow of the year fell. As I went through security, the corner of my eye caught a flash of gold, and then it disappeared again. When he confessed to me, it had been spectacular and unforgettable. Countless drones above the eastern suburbs formed my name in the sky. Fireworks lit up the entire night, dazzling and magnificent. A carpet of red rose petals stretched ahead, leading all the way into a sea of flowers. He said that liking someone meant there had to be a sense of ceremony. Only with ceremony could it feel cherished. Only then could it last to the very end. The beginning of a story is always beautiful, but the ending of this story had rotted away. 19-year-old Eric. We didn't make it to the end. You betrayed me.